Patrons are free to...
This is actually really interesting. Apparently, Elite Dangerous is actually a rather old series. There's other games called Elite, and this is actually really goddamn interesting. I'd like to see them. But I know next to nothing about them. They're old, and I don't want to. I sound terrible, but after a certain point, like, I can tolerate old graphics, but after a certain point, it's a little hard on the eyes. And then even beyond that, it's I don't know, some older games. I think Dwarf Fortress has kind of ruined me. I see a game with iffy graphics and I immediately assume it's going to have a terrible control scheme. So, yeah. Not too much profit, but still, I made money. And I made a bit of money here too. The other place has a lower price on it, but they don't have too much of it.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
They don't have too much of it. So I'll just go here. May as well, it's easier.
Landing gear retracted.
Oncoming traffic in the access corridor.
withdraw their patronage from their chosen senator, placing the onus on the senator to represent them satisfactorily or face a loss of voting power. Rigid stratification. The division between social classes is formal, unambiguous, and strict. But there is a clear path to advancement. A person can pay a fee and petition for admittance to the rank above. In this way, slaves can become citizens too. The law is not the
Scan detected.
same for all. Senators have a responsibility to enforce the law, and they must obey the emperor's decree, but are otherwise above the law. A senator can even carry out executions personally, with little, if any, fear of consequence.
Jeez.
The Empire.
Frameshift drive charging.
Military. The Imperial Navy. Maintaining a modernized navy has always been a top priority for the Empire. The ever-present threat posed by the Federation has driven previous emperors to empty
Ready to engage.
the coffers again and again for
Clear. Dark out.
fear of being outstripped in the arms race. More recently, funding has come from wealthy individual senators, many of whom are all too eager to gain influence. Within the Navy. Indeed, it has been claimed that devastating planetary mining has been carried out in order to further this cause. The Facisi system is arguably the most significant Imperial naval base. Many officers are housed on the world of Topaz, while Peter's Wreck is home to the training centers. As well as the battle fleets, the Imperial Navy maintains a subdivision dedicated to exploring the fringes of known space. The Emperor's Own. Genetic engineering is not officially tolerated in the Empire, but it does sometimes take place. One notable example is the Emperor's Own, a group of genetically engineered super soldiers deployed during the shock invasion
Called the Adeptus Astartes.
colony in the Leadler system in 2959. They proved brutally efficient, overrunning the federal defenses in a mere 2 hours and inflicting a rare defeat upon...
It'd be interesting if we get to fight them in Horizons.
Federal
Odyssey.
Regiment. The Empire, culture and values. The human body represents perfection. This belief, once held with mere religious intensity, still forms the bedrock of the Empire's culture and morals. Genetic modification is frowned upon, but a degree of genetic
Fuel scooping.
action is known to take place, supposedly to correct defects,
Fuel scoop disengaged.
such as vulnerability to certain diseases. The belief in the sanctity of
Frameshift drive charging.
the human body originates with the first emperor, Henson de Val. While he did not claim to be literally descended from the gods, in the manner of Roman emperors of old, he declared that his own image was the paradigm
3, 2,
to which others ought to aspire. Households across the empire were required to display a statue or bust of the emperor in a place of honor. Imperial citizens are therefore expected to shun habits that corrupt or defile the human body, such as excessive indulgence in narcotics. The ownership of slaves, by contrast, is tolerated in the same way that the ownership of any beautiful work of art is tolerated. Mistreatment of slaves is thus akin to vandalism. Keeping one's own body in peak condition and adorning it with jewels and expensive clothes is not vanity, but duty. And owning well-treated slaves is also considered a sign of good character. The Emperor's word is supreme. The
That-
Emperor's successor is decided.
That reminds me of a story I remember hearing in about ancient Rome. An emperor was visiting a noble's house, and one of the noble's slaves broke a plate. The noble, to make a show of power to the emperor and to try and win favor, was going to personally execute the slave on the spot for it. I believe, actually, I think the same noble had a pool of lamprey that he was going to throw the slave into. I think it was that was how he was going to do it. But the emperor, anyway, did not care for this. So much so that he immediately declared all the man slaves freed, or at the very least, commandeered ownership of them. But yeah, one Roman noble had a pool of lamprey that he would execute people in. If you don't know what a lamprey is, imagine it's an aquatic beastie. Not a fish, but it's an aquatic beastie. Looks vaguely like a penis, but its mouth is a vagina. Uvula. So, yeah. Creepy. Not a nice way to go, being swarmed by them. But, yeah, that's the kind of sick son of a bitch he was.
By the Senate, although the Duval dynasty has such a strong power base that the imperial throne has only ever been occupied by members of that bloodline. For generations, genetic selection ensured that the emperor's heir would be male, and the current ruler, Arissa Lavinie Duval, is the first woman to hold the throne. Marlene Duval is sometimes described as the empire's first female ruler, but this is incorrect. The colony she founded was a democracy. Honor is everything. The value placed on honor is a constant throughout all tiers of imperial society. Honor can be lost through various means, including leaving debts unpaid, failing to respect a superior or provide for a dependent, breaking a solemn vow, conducting combat with cowardly weapons such as nerve gas, and defying one's own body. Slavery is acceptable, but slaves must be well treated.
It's just like you're hearing basically about ancient Rome in space, and it's just like, and the way they talk about it, it makes it sound just, like he's talking about ancient Rome, and then Mensch tosses nerve gas into the middle of it. It's pretty funny.
Lakon, Papa Alpha, Lima. Welcome to this federal facility. Please observe all standard docking procedures. Access approved. Proceed to landing pad 2-3. Assisted
In the
docking
Empire,
initiated.
it is not uncommon for the poor and disenfranchised to sign up for a period of military service in exchange for a small sum of money. A similar logic applies to imperial slavery, to the extent that someone might sell themselves into slavery to clear a debt and restore their honor. Selling oneself into slavery is a straightforward legal process and results in a guaranteed sum of money for one's family, so it is a popular option for the desperate. In practice, however, many find that it takes much longer than expected to clear their debts. People are
Typical.
also forced into slavery against their will. Sometimes
I remember hearing about that, about indentured slaves
Scan detected.
in America. People were talking about this, but I don't know how true it is. I never really looked into it. But they're talking about indentured slaves in America, indentured servants. They're basically slaves. The owners, to avoid having to pay them at the end of their contract, would run them into the ground, work them to death, or just conveniently lose the contract, or what have you, to avoid having to pay them or set them free. But,
Contact.
and why would you want to treat them well or justly if they're just going to leave your service? That was apparently the running logic of them. So, apparently being an indentured servant was quite shit. Apparently a lot of Irish that went over to America ended up as that. We didn't really cover that too much in history class though. They mentioned them going over to America, but not too much about the indentured servitude. That stuff I heard later. I don't know how true that stuff is, but it makes sense. It has a train of logic to it. Not, when I'm saying makes sense, it's just like, it's not like, and then he threw a pie at them and the moon exploded. There. Ow, my neck. There's actually a running, it actually sounds possible. Like someone actually did it, Rather, it's not nonsensical or gibberish. Not that I'm condoning it.
a senator will sentence a person of lower rank to be stripped of citizenship and designated as a slave. But it is more common to impose a fine of such magnitude that the citizen has no recourse but to sell his or herself into slavery. Slaves may also be taken prisoner following a conflict, abducted from their home, or even captured in a hijacking. While trading slaves is lawful everywhere in the Empire, except
Incoming message.
on Emerald, taking new slaves outside of wartime is illegal, without the blessing of a senator. The Empire. Diplomatic relations. The Federation. Resentment of the
I think what I said there about indentured slaves made sense. They were saying about those people that sell themselves in slavery for a short time and whatnot, found it take longer to pay their debts off or whatnot. I linked that with indentured slavery IRL. People would end up in this, and the contracts would be run into the ground to avoid getting paid. Their owner would avoid having to pay them, or the contracts would be conveniently lost or destroyed, what have you, to keep them in slavery. And I've heard some talk about it, but I'm not sure how accurate it is. So basically slaves were seen as property, and you don't want to destroy your property. Indentured servants were seen as more expendable, because they're going to go anyway, you know? They're a temporary deal, you know? You want to wring every bit of good out of them as possible. Who cares if they don't survive? That was apparently the logic of some societies that had those, you know? Apparently that was the mentality behind some, you know, people in that time period in America. Apparently. I don't know how true it is. Again, it's not something we really covered. Hey folks, may edit a point there. Don't know. I'm just getting flustered.
Federation runs deep in the Empire. The superpower is remembered as an oppressive, interfering force that hypocritically avoids inflicting the slightest harm on non-human life, but thinks nothing of forcibly imposing its values on its fellow humans, and lacking the freedoms and social customs that the Empire values so dearly. While open hostility has frequently been the case in the past, the current situation is one of grudging coexistence, beneath which mistrust simmers. Despite this antipathy, the Empire cooperated with the Federation in a series of joint initiatives against the Thargoids in the early 3300s. The Alliance.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
When the Alliance was founded in 3230, following a bitter conflict with the Empire and the Federation, multiple systems defected to it from both superpowers. To the surprise of many, the Empire took very little further retributive action, partly because of the ill health of the Emperor of the time, and partly due to a belief that the defecting systems would return to their natural home, sooner or later. The Empire's current attitude to the Alliance is one of studied contempt. To recognize it as a threat would be too much like showing respect. Internal politics. Unsurprisingly for a society so concerned with rank and influence, the Empire contains a multitude of feuding power blocks. In particular, there is a good deal of bad blood between the various noble houses, whose values range from hardcore traditionalist to staunch reformist. The Imperial Senate is no longer as overshadowed by the Emperor as it once was, and has gained sufficient strength to act as a counterbalance to the Emperor's political will. The individual character of the Emperor still determines the Empire's overall direction, however, and the suggestion that the Empire should evolve out of its old ways has proven deeply divisive. The Empire. History. The Achenar colony was founded in the mid-20th...
Okay, let's set up a new one. If I do edit there, I'm gonna have to slice around that talking.
Docking coupler disengaged. Observe station regulations on exit.
I didn't say I'm wrong, it's just more that I'm waiting for someone to throw a strop and a fit, and I don't want to deal with that. It just feels like a pain. Just some people are...
Scan detected.
People can take issue with anything, and so sometimes I just get really paranoid about what I'm saying. Someone might throw a strap over it. That's all.
The Federation. Introduction. For I dipped into the future, far as human eye could see, saw the vision of the world, and all the wonder that would be. Saw the heavens fill with commerce, argosies of magic sails, pilots of the purple twilight, dropping down with costly bail.
All clear. FFC signing off.
Till the war drum throbbed no longer, and the battle flags were furled in the Parliament
Frameshift drive charging.
of man. The Federation
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
of the world. Alfred Lord Tennyson, Locksley Hall, 1835.
How then to attempt the impossible task of summing up the Federation? We are the ones who draw the lines. Our forefathers, who lived through the bitter anguish of global wars, drew a line under them and declared, no more. We enshrined the rights of all citizens
Frameshift drive charging.
in our Constitution, underlined them, and signed. We plotted the lines that first linked the star systems, bringing humanity to the
3, 2, 1.
shores of new worlds, opening the way to interstellar trade. And when humanity itself, in the exuberance of youth, threatened the delicate balance of alien life, again we drew a line. Thus far let us lawfully tread, and no further.
Isaac Gellin, Federation President. Inaugural speech, 2862.
Fuel scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged.
Federation is the oldest of the galaxy's three superpowers, a vast geopolitical entity reaching out from the core system of Sol and encompassing a broad
Frameshift drive charging.
socio-economic spectrum. Among the myriad federal star systems, one can find extraordinary wealth, crushing poverty, and everything in between. By contrast with the Empire,
4, 3, 2, 1.
which offers a social safety net in the form of state-sanctioned slavery, the poorest members of federal society have no safeguards and no way out. For them, life on the graffiti state streets is inescapable, and the gulf between their lives and those of the super-rich could not be more insurmountable. At its best, the Federation embodies the values of its founding nations: democracy, industry, and liberty. But federal
Fuel scooping.
I'm just gonna replay this.
Be competitive and unforgiving.
I kind of missed a bit.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
I wish I had better control over it. I've been able to swipe through.
Into the future,
Frameshift drive charging.
far as human eye could see, saw the vision of the world and all the wonder that would be. Saw the
really wish there
heavens
was a way
filled
to
with
swipe through it.
comets, argosies of magic sails,
Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2, 1.
pilots of the purple twilight, dropping down with costly bales, till the war drum throbbed no longer, and the battle flags were furled in the Parliament of Man, the Federation of the World. Alfred Lord Tennyson, Locksley Hall, 1835.
How then
Fuel scooping.
to attempt the impossible task of summing up the Federation?
Fuel scoop disengaged. Frameshift drive charging.
We are the ones who draw the lines. Our forefathers, who lived through the bitter anguish of global wars, drew a line under them and declared, no more.
4, 3, 2, 1.
We enshrined the rights of all citizens in our Constitution, underlined them, and signed. We plotted the lines that first linked the star systems, bringing humanity to the shores of new worlds, opening the way to interstellar trade.
Fuel scooping.
And
Fuel scoop disengaged.
humanity itself, in the
Fuel scooping.
of
Fuel scoop disengaged.
youth.
Frameshift drive charging.
Threatened the delicate balance of alien life. Again, we drew a line. Thus far let us lawfully tread, and no further.
3, 2, 1.
Isaac Gellan, Federation President. Inaugural speech, 2862. The Federation is the oldest of the galaxy's three superpowers, a vast geopolitical entity reaching out from the core system of Sol and encompassing a broad socio-economic spectrum. Among the myriad federal star systems, one can find extraordinary wealth, crushing poverty, and everything in between. By contrast with the Empire, which offers a social safety net in the form of state-sanctioned slavery, the poorest members of federal society have no safeguards and no way out. For them, life on the graffiti-stained streets is inescapable, and the gulf between their lives and those of the super-rich could not be more insurmountable. At its best, the Federation embodies the values of its founding nations: democracy, industry, and liberty. But federal society can also be competitive and unforgiving. Corporations wield too much power, politicians are often corrupt, and a sink-or-swim ethos prevails. The Federation. History. The nations of Earth united in the aftermath of war. After the devastation of World War III, the United States of the Americas rose to become the planet's dominant nation. Over the following years, it gradually brought the other nations of the world under its aegis. Called at first the Federation of the USA, the expanding democracy was soon given the less exclusive title of the Federation. Humanity reached for the stars. When faster-than-light travel became a reality in the 22nd century, several terrestrial corporations competed fiercely to establish the first human colony in a new star system. Tau Ceti was the first system to be colonized, followed by Delta Pavonis, Beta Hydria, and Altair. In their wake, there followed a wild scramble of pioneering expeditions and colonial ventures. The first colony rebelled. The year 2161 saw a dispute between the colony of Tau Ceti III and the Federation Authority, centered on the colonists' repeated refusal to limit the damage they were inflicting on the alien ecosystem. Earth dispatched a fleet with orders to revoke the colony's charter. The colony responded by declaring independence. A military step.
Fuck off. You know, from all that creaking, I think I'm just gonna be rent open. Be scraping my goodies off hyperspace. Keep going.
It led to grudging compromise, and the Federal Accord resulted, granting the system rights and representation, along with concomitant duties. The Federation, born on Earth, was now an association of star systems. The Birthright Wars gave corporations preferential treatment. Starting in 2621, a group of corporations subjected the federal government to over a century of unrelenting pressure. They demanded the right to buy up underexploited colonial land from its hereditary owners. Under the terms of the original charters, the land belonged to the colonists and their descendants, regardless of their ability to mine, farm, or otherwise exploit it, meaning that immense resources were lying untapped. The corporations argued that with the machinery, workforce, and fleets at their disposal, they could tap those resources. The Federation would be enriched, the original owners would be compensated, and everyone would be satisfied. The Federation bowed to pressure and allowed compulsory purchase of the family's land, albeit for far less than the expected sums. Outrage, rebellion, and in one case, the defiant resettlement of an entire colony resulted. The Federation's detractors often point to this dark episode as indicative of its true nature, a mere administrative puppet bent to the will of rapacious corporations. Federation. Society. A federated democracy. The Federation's legislative
Lakeland Papa Alpha Lima, a landing pad has been
is
reserved
made
for
up
your
of
arrival.
congressmen
The Alliance
elected to
welcomes you, Commander. Landing permitted. Clear to land on pad 05. Preparing for precision approach. ESA building computer has been approved.
present their system or state. Apart from the oldest core systems such as Sol, which encompasses multiple states, each star system within the Federation is considered a single state. New colonies do not qualify for full Federation membership until and unless they fulfill the development objectives set down for them. With self-reliance comes representation.
Scan detected.
The federal government has its seat on Mars, which was terraformed in 2286. Congress was moved there from Earth in the early 3rd millennium. The executive branch is headed by an elected president with a fixed 8-year term. Constitutional rights obtain. The sovereign rights of all individuals are enshrined in the Constitution, which is a modified and streamlined version of the US Constitution,
Landing gear deployed.
originally codified in the 18th century. The right to liberty underscores the absolute ban on slavery within the Federation.
Ship is on the deck, notifying ground crew.
And is a point of contention with the Empire. Corporate interests dominate. Although the Federation is loudly and proudly democratic, corporations still exercise tremendous influence over the democratic
Incoming message.
process, shaping citizens' choices through celebrity endorsement, lobbying, and occasionally outright corruption. The government is notoriously reluctant to curb corporate activity. The typical question in Congress is not whether a given policy will favor corporate interests, but which ones it will favor. Competition between corporations for Congress
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
support can lead to a deadlock in the government. The Federation. Military. The Federal Navy. The Federation has maintained a battle
Landing gear retracted.
Hatch sequence complete. Allow for oncoming traffic in the access corridor.
fleet since the days of the first federal colony, which was established in the Tau Ceti system. Its official mandate is to protect shipping and defend the borders of federal space, but it has also frequently been deployed against the Federation's own rebellious citizens. At first, the Federation's member systems were required to contribute the required ships, making the mustering process a cumbersome one. But following the Birthright Wars, corporations were chartered to produce centralized fleets, which made for a far more efficient system. The naval
Scan detected.
shipyards and training academy were originally based in the Anlave system, but the academy has since been moved to the custom world of Navy Central in
Scan detected.
Eta Cassiopeia.
You're clear to plot your own course. Darkon signing off.
Frameshift drive charging.
The Navy benefited from massive investment following the forced sell-off of colonial land in the Birthright Wars, during which it was wielded against the colonists in a bitterly resented move. When the Thargoids were
4, 3, 2,
first encountered in 2849, the Navy was boosted once again in fear of the alien threat, and a further bolstering followed in 2867, in the aftermath of what were believed to be Thargoid attacks. Governor Raul Santorini championed heavy cuts to the Navy budget in 3022, which were not reversed until President Varian Scott came to power in 3144. Scott talked up the Thargoid threat, again increasing funding to the Navy
fuel scoping.
and removing the requirement for military actions to be approved by a congressional vote. Landfall
Fuel sync disengaged.
In addition
Frameshift drive charging.
to the rank and file, the Federation still enjoys the loyal service of special military divisions, such as the Gurkha Regiment, who have served since the days of Earth, keeping up long-standing traditions
3, 2, 1,
such as this is an important link to the past for Federal citizens. The Federation, culture and values. If you want to eat,
I missed a bit there. I got distracted.
you have to work. The Federation has no room for freeloaders. It has nurtured the cool frontier values
fuel scoping. Fuel scope disengaged.
of self-reliance and entrepreneurship since its inception, and respects the self-made citizen.
Frameshift drive charging.
This insistence upon paying your way and pulling your weight also applied, notoriously, to the process whereby new colonies were established, until a given colony was able to fulfill the development goal
3, 2, 1.
set down for it by the Federation. It could only ever be a dependency with no voice of its own. Given that the Federation's assigned goals could vary wildly from one colony to the next, this requirement frequently chafed with the colonists. While the Federation maintained that it was simply exercising flexibility,
Fuel scoping.
since no two worlds were the same, some colonies were tempted away to the
Fuel scope disengaged.
Empire by the promise of being recognized as sovereign without having to jump through arbitrary hoops. Corporations took humanity into space.
Frameshift drive charging.
The Federation has never forgotten the role played by private enterprise in the initial migration from Earth. Corporations enjoy substantial freedom and influence under the Federation, so much so that
3, 2, 1.
it often seems they are the powers truly running the show. Federal citizens can be as passionately loyal to their corporations as they would be to a family or clan group. And it is common for successive generations of a given family to serve the same corporation. Harvest the limitless riches of space, but respect
Fuel scoping.
non-human life.
Fuel scope disengaged.
The Federation and the Empire have hugely differing views on the primacy of humanity in the cosmos. While the Federation insists that its colonies treat
Frameshift drive charging.
indigenous non-human life with care, the Empire typically takes a more human-centric approach. This attitude has allowed the Empire to poach several developing Federation colonies who
3, 2, 1.
felt themselves hamstrung by ecological regulations. Wealth is freedom. Federal citizens actively embrace corporate culture, expressing their identity through brand choices and media consumption.
Feels very topical.
The Federation. Diplomatic relations. The Empire. In 2292, a group of colonists established a settlement on Akanar 6D, chosen for its remoteness. The original intent was merely to live free from interference, but autocrat Henson Duval rapidly took control of the
Yes.
and had himself proclaimed emperor. The Federation attempted military reprisals, partly due to the nascent empire's insistence on independence, but faced a harder fight than they had expected and were held at bay. Over the next 50 years, the empire expanded to many other worlds. The Federation's relationship with the empire is one of entrenched mistrust, stemming from irreconcilable ideological differences. mollified somewhat by the corporations, which have a presence in both territories, and thus acts as a stabilizing influence. Outright hostilities between the powers, when they occur at all, are usually conducted through proxy forces. The Alliance. In 3228, the federally aligned corporations supplying the Alioth system attempted to raise their prices, leading to a citizen rebellion. Several independent systems assisted the rebels. Neither galactic superpower was able to suppress the revolt. The Empire was too far away to intervene effectively, whereas the Federation was hampered by unexpected public sympathy for the rebels. The Alliance of Independent Systems, founded on Alioth in 3230.
Lakon, Papa Alpha Lima. Welcome to Federal Facility. Please observe all standard docking procedures. Authorization cleared.
Drew in new
Proceed to
members
landing
over the
pad
next 20 years.
03.
Some
Automated docking confirmed.
were already independent, while others defected from the Federation or Empire. In order to keep more worlds from defecting, the Federation was forced to reform the process whereby colonies could achieve full federal membership. So far, it has only managed to slow the loss of worlds to the Alliance, and has yet to tempt any back. The Alliance. Introduction. Rise, like lions after slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth, like dew which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many,
Landing gear deployed.
they are few. Percy Bysshe Shelley, The Mask of Anarchy, 1819.
I've read your speech a dozen times, Mick. We can't use it. Sure, we could sound off about self-rule and freedom from tyranny and the dignity of the work.
Landing completed. Disembark when ready.
Man/woman, and the young hotheads would lap it up like they always do. I'm not saying we don't need that stuff, but we mustn't forget it's just marketing. A shiny wrapper. It's not enough. If we're going to make the Alliance of Independent Systems happen, we need more than tub-thumping speeches from a war hero. We need to show our people that the damn thing can work. I want spending plans, dividend forecasts, surveyors' reports. I want data so dry you don't need to believe in it. The people are tired and heartsick. They've been sold dreams too many times by both sides, so let's not try to sell them anymore. It's time to wake up.
Private communique from Meredith Argent to Mick Turner, founders of the Alliance. The Alliance is the youngest of the galaxy's three superpowers.
I'm just checking
It
prices.
is perhaps best understood in terms of what it chooses not to be. It rejects both the extreme capitalism of the Federation and the rigid hierarchy of the Empire, choosing instead a third way of voluntary association for mutual benefit. The desire for freedom from interference, both from external threats and internal bureaucracy, was the key motivation behind the Alliance's founding and is enshrined in its Articles of Association. The governments of the member systems are given as much autonomy to create their own laws and administer their own affairs as possible. The right to political self-determination and cultural self-expression are essential to the Alliance, but it remains to be seen whether the ultimate result will be stable harmony or a cacophony of dissenting voices. Every Alliance member knows that alliances have been made before, many times over, only to collapse. The Alliance. History. Alioth was colonized. The crucible in which the Alliance was forged was Alioth, a system so rich in gas and mineral resources that early surveyors considered it a stellar El Dorado.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
When the Federation established its first colony on Alioth 5b in 2452, they gave the planet the less grandiose name of Fruitcake, as mineral deposits lay in the lonely soil.
Pad Pad detach complete. Observe station
Later,
regulations on exit.
commentators would reflect, bitterly, that the world was well named because everyone wanted a peace. A conflict over mining rights drew in the superpowers. Alioth's prosperity soon attracted corporations eager to support the developing system in exchange for a share of the profits. A dispute over rights quickly escalated into an armed conflict, prompting the Empire to dispatch a military force, ostensibly for the colonists' protection. The Federation also sent ships, but theirs were a response to the corporation's plea for aid. Unable to directly engage the Federal ships without sparking a war, the Empire covertly encouraged the Alioth colonists to renounce the Federation and
Flight assist on.
accept Imperial protection, thus freeing the Empire to engage with the occupying Federal forces in sympathy with the will of the people. This marked the
Frameshift drive charging.
All clear. Watch your 6, Commander.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
first of many incidents in which the people of Alioth were used to advance the agenda of another power. Federation-sponsored insurrection. In 2530, the Federation set out to undermine Imperial control of Alioth by exploiting local resentment of the governor. They covertly supported acts of protest and petty vandalism. Then, when the inevitable Imperial crackdown
Frameshift drive charging.
followed, stoked the fires of social unrest. A terrorist movement called the Cakers emerged, and the atrocities escalated. The years that followed saw a protracted
3, 2, 1.
Beware the cakers.
degrading series of proxy wars and cynical propaganda campaigns as the federal, imperial, and corporate powers all contended for Alioth. The system made an abortive attempt to establish its independence in 2617, resulting in a short-lived cooperation between the Empire and the Federation, neither of which were willing to allow this. The Revolution. In the early 4th millennium, both the Federation and the Empire had a presence in the Alioth system. Fruitcake, now known as Gordonwald, was a federal protectorate, while the Empire had earlier conducted terraforming experiments
Frameshift drive charging.
in the world of New California, and also held gas mining platforms in the system. The federal corporations supplying New California had raised the prices of their goods several times in the previous year.
3, 2, 1.
And when they imposed yet another price hike, the planet's inhabitants revolted. In the insurrection that followed, rebels commandeered any available ships and headed out to the gas mining platforms, where they attacked the outpost's corporate employees. Alarmed, the Empire and the Federation dispatched ships to put down the rebellion, but were beaten back by a hastily assembled force made up of fighters from Alioth and, crucially, volunteers from nearby independent systems. Neither the Empire nor the Federation were able to gain a foothold, and eventually both forces had to withdraw. The Empire faced too many logistical problems fighting
Fuel scoping.
so far from home, while the Federation's efforts were undermined by public sympathy for the rebels. An alliance was brokered. The victory in Alioth had proven that
Fuel tank disengaged.
independent systems working together could hold their own against the superpowers. It fell to pilot Mick Turner and scientist Meredith Argent to ride the wave of
Frameshift drive charging.
public spirit and propose a permanent alliance, under whose aegis independent systems could enjoy freedom from imperial and federal interference. The alliance was founded in 32.
3, 2, 1.
And in the next 2 decades, it expanded its membership to more than 20 systems, some defecting from the Federation and the Empire, others pledging as independents. The Alliance. Society. Many worlds, few rules, no overlords. The Alliance's article...
I keep getting distracted by my phone. Apologies. I was thinking I was going to probably have to be playing these a few times anyway, because there's a lot to take in. So,
Fuel scoping.
of membership, are designed to unite the member systems with strong, straightforward
Fuel scoop disengaged.
bonds that allow as much self-determination as possible.
Frameshift drive charging.
Membership guarantees mutual prosperity through guaranteed free trade and security through the Alliance Defense Force, while leaving much of the business of government to the individual members. The Alliance...
3, 2, 1.
Its assembly acts as a central arbitration committee, helping to settle disputes between member systems. It also oversees formal arrangements between members, such as treaties, research goals, and mutually agreed policies. As no one system can be allowed to carry more weight than another, the Assembly frequently finds itself bogged down in endless back and forth negotiations. Getting them to agree on anything is a task often compared to herding linglags,
Fuel scoping.
notoriously ill-tempered carnivores from the Achenar system.
Fuel scoop disengaged. Frameshift drive charging.
A body of civil servants who remain uninvolved in politics handle most of the day-to-day administrative work that enables the Alliance to function. Conditional autonomy for members.
3, 2, 1.
Systems. Alliance members are required to subscribe to and uphold a code of human rights, and to have a democratically elected government. Citizens of any member state have a right of freedom of movement and residence within any other member state. Furthermore, all member systems are obliged to give immediate military assistance to any fellow member when necessary.
Someone was making a point that it's a shame that you can't throw in with the Alliance. And it is. I wouldn't mind actually throwing in with them. Like, see, you can gain rep with them, but you can't gain rank. So I wouldn't mind. But they seem the better of the three. So
The Alliance. Military. The Alliance Defense Force. While each Alliance member system maintains its own navy, all members are required to commit ships and crew to the Alliance Defense Force. This rapid response group usually remains within Alliance space, and its tasks vary from providing a beleaguered system with military assistance to evacuating settlements hit by natural disaster. A 6-member Council of Admirals oversees the Alliance Defense Force. It is accountable to the Assembly, but does not require its approval before taking action. This freedom of decision-making prevents urgent military action being delayed by tedious debate. The Alliance. Culture and values. Cooperation, mutual aid, tolerance, and respect. The values that bind the Alliance systems also hold true on an interpersonal level. Just as the different worlds of the Alliance formally recognize one another's legitimacy and value, individuals are generally reluctant to show prejudice against others, and will band together to help those in genuine need. Diversity is strength. Members of the Alliance are not obliged to conform to what they consider the corporate saturation of federal culture, or the status-obsessed posturing of the Imperials. Individual systems are encouraged to preserve and celebrate their own cultural identities. This approach results in a rich variety of artistic, literary, and dramatic output. Free to speak, free to protest. One curious cultural constant across the Alliance member systems is the way the citizens indulge their freedom to complain. They can criticize their governments without fear of repression, and they frequently do so. Previous experience of exploitation has left many citizens cynical, but possessed of a certain mordant humor and a willingness to take life as it comes. The Alliance. Diplomatic relations. The Federation. Alliance attitude.
ah, it's waiting for me to come back. It'll work just as well as it did last time, Horson. Come on, come on.
reaction varies sharply, depending on whether one is asking about the Federation's government or its citizenry. The government is seen as a hidebound relic, unable to arrest its slow decline into decadence. But the general populace are much more compassionately viewed. An Alliance citizen, proud of his or her own emancipation, is likely to have a rather condescending view of a Federal citizen. They are characterized as ignorant dupes, kept satiated by mass-market entertainment and branded consumer goods. This is not seen as their fault, however. On the contrary, it is widely held that the Federation and the corporate barons deliberately keep the people in this servile state. The Alliance is more interested in enticing Federal systems to join its union, thereby winning the moral war, than in exacting vengeance for the wrongs of the past. There has been too much violence already. The Empire. To the Alliance, the Empire is anathema. With its monolithic culture, veneration of opulence, disdain for human rights and tolerance of slavery, it could not be further from the Alliance's values of mutual respect and freedom from exploitation. Yet, for all this, many Alliance members would rather deal with the Empire than the Federation. The common belief is that the Federation will always pretend to be something it is not. At least with the Empire, you know what you're dealing with. Most
And that's the same logic people were saying about Serene Harbor, that was likely a Fed attempt at weakening the Alliance, weakening the Empire. But like the Empire will be like, oh yeah, that's ours. Yeah, we're torturing people. You know, the things I would show you. You know, the Empire would be upfront about it, while the Feds would be hiding such a thing and trying to play the same coin, hoping it would harm the Empire. But it's coming from their viewpoint, so it wouldn't. If you get me. Like, say if someone's really ashamed of a particular thing and tries to use that, pretend someone else did that, and the other person isn't ashamed of that at all. It's just water off a duck's back. It's that kind of thing. Wonder if anything will come of that Serene Harbor thing, or was it just a random fuffle, you know? Anyway.
Citizens view the emergence of a progressive movement within the Empire with cynicism. Everyone knows that the Empire is incapable of changing its ways. The whole imperial social model is an imitation of the past. But some in the Alliance, nevertheless, welcome the ascension of the first female.
Landing successful. Engaging magistrates.
The edifice may not be about to crumble, but such a profound change cannot be ignored. The Empire. History. The Achenar colony was founded. In the mid-23rd century, wealthy entrepreneur Marlene Duval was so frustrated with the federal government that she founded an independent colony of her own in the Achenar system, chosen for its remoteness. When Marlene was killed shortly afterwards in a flyer accident, her brother Henson Duval took over as ruler.
Oh.
Henson Duval the Emperor. Duval immediately abolished the fledgling democracy that Marlene had set up, and in its place
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
he established a system modelled on ancient Rome. He was now emperor, and his closest allies were his senators. Any colonists who might have objected were forced into silent compliance with Duval's vision. Such were his wealth and power. It was also widely believed that Marlene Duval, like Remus in ancient Rome, had been killed by her own brother. Nobody dared to speak out. The Mudlark extinction. The colonists were aware that the planet they had settled, Achenar 6D, had indigenous life, but at first it wasn't appreciated that this included a sentient species, nicknamed the Mudlarks after they were observed digging through riverbank mud in search of food. Although the Mudlarks were at a pre-agricultural stage of development, they appear to have developed the beginnings of language. They also created crude forms in molded clay.
This is
No
tempting.
obvious practical purpose, possibly indicating
it has a
nascent
fighter bay.
artistic culture. The mudlarks proved fatally vulnerable to the bacteria carried by the colonists, and within a few decades of the colony's founding, the species was extinct. Rumours subsequently emerged that Henson Duval had purposefully removed all traces of the mudlarks, partly in fear of federal reprisal, and partly to ensure that his development plans would not be hindered by ecological constraints. The Federation attempted to reclaim Achenar. When the federal government heard rumours that Duval's colony had recklessly caused the
that would be
destruction of a
beautiful.
sentient indigenous species, they decided on military intervention. The Imperial ships beat back the federal attackers, who were unable to establish a beachhead among the airless outer worlds, and struggled to maintain supply lines so far from Earth. The federal forces eventually fell back, and
I'm actually going to stop for a bit and go get some food. I'm actually quite hungry. So, talk to you in a bit. Hello, folks, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Or, hey, folks, and I am back. Keep getting my intros confused. I've one for starting a session, one for continuing. There's difference. Elite Dangerous, OBS, Marcus, Elite Dangerous Launcher, Steam. Ship's already full. That's fine. Launch. I'll be done doing this soon, don't worry. It's just, this is very good money. Like, this is ridiculous good money.
Landing gear retracted.
This is the best. Remember all those transport, those passenger runs I did with executives, well, with VIPs. This is as productive as all of them, as their best run, if not more so. It's ridiculous. I got 2 friend requests, but I don't know who either of these people are. I feel bad saying no, but I don't want to say yes because I don't know who the hell they are.
Scan detected.
Well, they probably... I've mentioned that I'm playing this game on Twitter and whatnot, but I doubt there anyone from there sending me a thing.
Frameshift drive charging.
But yeah, if you are sending me a friend request, probably not gonna answer it. None personal, but it just...
We look forward to your return, Commander.
I'm really awkward about talking with people. I'm really awkward. It just... incredibly daunting. So I'm probably not gonna accept friend requests, but to actually give you... I was initially gonna say, if you are gonna send me a friend request, please send me a message on Steam first. Well, not Steam, Twitter. Because if I at least get a message on Twitter first, and you tell me who you are...
Disengaged.
Oh, fuck off.
Frameshift drive charging.
Yeah, at least if I found out, like, oh, it's so-and-so that I was talking to, they don't have an idea. It'd be something, but, yeah. I know, it's just, talking with people's daunting. And I remember I talked to one person on, like, StarCraft before, and... oh, what was StarCraft? It was some game. And I felt awkward playing for a while, because it was just like... social interaction. You know, like... I want to play, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for social interaction today.
Frameshift drive
So,
charging.
yeah, I struggle with immense social anxiety. That's all. It's quite irritating.
4, 3, 2,
Make it so. apparently there's a war going on here. Diplomatic relations, okay.